Bhuta, such wonderful guna, qualities, Hari, of the Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada.
Haribo.
Sutta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atma Ramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma, or the spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. So purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this Atmarama shloka very vividly before his chief devotee, Sri Sanatana Goswami. He points out 11 factors in the shloka, namely Atmarama, Munaya, Nirgrantha, Api, Cha, Urukrama, Purvanti, Ahitukim, Bhaktim, Itam Bhuta Guna, and Hari. According to the Vishwa Prakash Sanskrit Dictionary, there are 7 synonyms for the word Atma, which are as follows: Brahman, body, mind, endeavor, endurance, intelligence, and personal habits. The word Munaya refers to those who are thoughtful, those who are grave and silent, ascetics, the persistent, mendicants, sages, and saints. The word Nirgrantha conveys these ideas: one who is liberated from nescience, one who has no connection with the scriptural injunction, that is, who is freed from the obligation of rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures like ethics, Vedas, philosophy, psychology, and metaphysics. In other words, the fools, illiterate, urchins, etc., who have no connection with regulative principles. A capitalist, one who is penniless, According to the Shabdakosha dictionary, the affix ni is used in the sense of certainty, counting, building, and forbiddance. And the word grantha is used in the sense of wealth, thesis, vocabulary, etc. The word arukrama means one whose activities are glorious. Krama means step. The word arukrama specifically indicates the Lord's incarnation as Vamana, who covered the whole universe by immeasurable steps. Lord Vishnu is powerful, and his activities are so glorious that he has created the spiritual world by his internal potency, and the material world by his external potency. By his all-pervading feature, he is everywhere present as the supreme truth, and in his personal feature, he is always present in the transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan, where he displays his transcendental pastimes in all variegatedness. His activities cannot be compared to anyone else's, and therefore the word arukrama is just applicable to him only. According to the Sanskrit verbal arrangement, kurvanti refers to doing things for someone else. Therefore, it means that the Atma Ramas render devotional service unto the Lord, not for personal interest, but for the pleasure of Lord Urukram. Hetu means causal. There are many causes for one's sense satisfaction, and they can be chiefly classified as material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation. which are generally desired by progressive persons. As far as material enjoyments are concerned, they are innumerable, and the materialists are eager to increase them more and more because they are under the illusory energy. There is no end to the list of material enjoyments, nor can anyone in the material universe have all of them. As far as the mystic powers are concerned, they are 8 in all, such as to become the minutest in form, to become weightless, to have anything one's desires, to lord it over the material nature, to control other living beings, and to throw earthly globes into outer space, etc. These mystic powers are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. The forms of liberation are 5 in number. Therefore, unalloyed devotion means service to the Lord without desire for the above mentioned personal benefits. And the powerful personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, can be fully satisfied by such unalloyed devotees, free from all sorts of desires for personal benefit. So I just want to go back over some things here. Om Gyan Itimanandasya Ganam Jana Sharakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Maham Darati Shwa Parantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivashari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he explained, well, first, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was situated in Brahman and Mayavad philosophy, partially Brahmavadi, partially Mayavadi. Mayavadi by influence of those who were prominent at that time, and Brahmavadi in his own realization, because he was worshiping Jagannath, although he didn't understand Jagannath perfectly. So when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was impressed, but he was concerned that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was such a beautiful young man. How would he maintain his sannyas? And then he thought, I will instruct him. I will save him. Otherwise, I will save him. I will instruct him. By the false ego. We always think that by our false egos that I am better, I'm more equipped, I'm the best, I'm the topmost. Even one's false ego is so strong that nowadays we see that people want to be the worst. Otherwise, to be the most, even in being the worst or being the greatest criminal, from which much of modern music has come about. So, all of these definitions, one may think it's just a question of combining. You take these different definitions of Atmarama, which are 7, and then you take the Nirgrantha 4 and Ni with 4, and then Parukrama has really different meanings, but it has one meaning. And so, so these, if you combined all these numbers, you would come up with an unlimited number. And this is what, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained it, because this purport is actually a summary of the 24th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, but it's not just this means unlimited. Just like one of the definitions here of Nirgranta is a capitalist. So the supreme capitalist is Krishna, one who is penniless. Krishna described himself to Rukmini that, why do you want to marry me? Well, first, I failed. I completely failed as a cowherd boy because I have no cows. And secondly, I'm failed as a Kshatriya because I have no kingdom. So I'm penniless. I'm penniless, and people accuse me of being Hari, of taking from others. So otherwise, everything can be applied to Krishna. He who is freed from rules and regulations, Krishna, natasya karyam karanam chavidyate, natat shamas chavikas chadrishyate. Krishna has no second. No one can even come to a close second except for Balaram. But no one else can come to even a close second, what to speak of being equal to Krishna. And so there are no rules and regulations. Krishna's rules and regulations, of course, there are in one sense of him being bhakti vashyata, or him being totally dedicated to his devotees. But that's voluntary. That's not, there's no obligation. The obligation is the obligation of the loving relationship which exists between Krishna and his devotees. And of course, when it's described, fools, illiterate urchins, etc., even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu classified himself as illiterate by the instructions of his spiritual master, that Tomar Nahika Vedantadikar, you have no right to study the Vedanta, just japa sada, Krishna mantra japa sada. He said, Ishvara Puri said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just take this Krishna mantra, which is japa sada, chant it always. A mantra sar. It is the essence of all mantras. So we can apply, the point is that we can apply all of these definitions to a great personality or to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes into a very, very deep definition of each of these things. And then when we get to the idea of Rukrama Hetu, now this is a great, the definition of Hetu, or Hetuki, which means without any cause. Otherwise, what are the causes in this material world? Material enjoyment, bhukti, mukti, siddhi. And of course, it is said, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikam Sakaliya Shanta. That those who have these causes, that they want bhukti, material enjoyment, mukti, liberation, or siddhi, mystic powers, they can never be satisfied. And Srila Prabhupada gives a whole purport, a whole paragraph describing how these things, 8 mystical powers, unlimited material desires, which of course are governed, which means that they are unlimited and they keep us unlimitedly bound in the material world, or nitya baddha, as long as we are attracted to these things, we can never get away. And they also include mystic powers, and they also include liberation. the 5 types of liberation, which a devotee is not interested in. A devotee accepts them when they are given, when they are given as, along with one's surrender to Krishna. Otherwise, when you surrender to Krishna, although a devotee doesn't specifically desire it, when he surrenders to Krishna, then he or she, they become, then they may get a body like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They may live on the same planet. They've already attained Brahma Bhutta Prasanatmana Shochati Nakangshati, that they've already, by being situated in Brahman, which is automatic, it's automatically achieved through devotional service. You go to the level of Brahman and you go beyond. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur defines, that one who is a neophyte devotee, their realization, although they're worshiping Krishna, but their realization is basically on the level of Brahman. And really not even according to Krishna's definition of Brahman, na shochati na kangshati, they may not even achieve that, being free from hankering and free from lamentation. Sama sarvashu bhuteshu, and they certainly, the neophyte devotee certainly doesn't see sama sarvashu bhuteshu. He doesn't, so he's actually aspiring to acquire these qualities, which mad bhaktir labate param, which acquiring them, one becomes elevated to the platform of devotional service. Otherwise, you can't really achieve those things just by Brahman realization, but one has to be elevated to the platform of devotional service. And then Srila Prabhupada says, he goes into the definition of a haituka bhakti. So hetu bhakti, or bhakti with a cause, means one of these 3 things, and a haituki means a haituki bhakti. It means without unalloyed devotion. Therefore, you don't want these things. And that's what the Atmaram verse is saying. Now, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Chaitanya Charitamrita, he describes very technically with all kinds of different kinds of definitions from the Bhagavatam to give these, and there he gave 61 meanings to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya began to try to teach him Vedanta for 7 days, and then he said, he was thinking maybe this beautiful sannyasi is just a dullard. He doesn't understand. Although he seems so advanced, but he's not asking any questions. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that actually, I don't have any questions about what you explained because it doesn't make any sense. But I understand Vedanta very well. Then he taught Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that these principles of Vedanta, he explained them in terms of devotional service, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya realized that he was such a great personality, he had greater knowledge. And then it came to the point of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya saying that you are Atmarama. And he quoted the Atmarama verse, and he gave 9 explanations. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 64 explanations, not even touching the 9 that he had given, which were incomplete. He gave 64 complete. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya accepted him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the Atmaram verse to Sanatana Goswami, he wanted to what he was explaining is that there are basically 6 types of Atmaramas. And Srila Prabhupada explains that in his purport, one of his purports to in that 24th chapter of Madhya Lila. 6 kinds of Atmaramas: the neophyte student, sadhaka, one who is absorbed in Brahman realization, Brahma Maya, one who has attained the Brahman position, Prapta Brahman Laya, one who desires to be liberated, Mumukshu, one who is liberated in this life, Jivan Mukta, and one who is self-realized, Prapta Swarupa. And then he expands on those more. But he gives examples of, otherwise, why is he saying 6 kinds of Atmaramas? Because they're supposed to be devotees. Haituki Bhakti and Itam Bhuta Guna Hari. And they're supposed to be absorbed in the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, but actually he gives examples. Who are these people? Okay, the 4 Kumaras, and then there's, apart from the 4 Kumaras, then there's Shukadev Goswami, who's actually, in the next verse that we have in this particular chapter, the next verse is about Shukadev. Srila Shukadev Goswami, the son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Therefore, thus he underwent the study of the great Bhagavatam. So, so this is, then he gives others examples. Narada Muni, who was situated in knowledge by the association of devotees. Shonika Rishi, who by the association of devotees came from the platform of Brahman. So there are so many devotees who were situated in this position, but they became elevated by the association of devotees, by hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, when speaking to Sanatana Goswami, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives some examples that who are the people, how do these people become eligible? By the association with Vaishnavas, by Krishna's mercy, and by the execution of devotional service. These 3 things are what bring us to the platform of pure devotional service or dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then once one comes to that platform, then this what Srila Prabhupada is saying here, that the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord progresses in different stages. The practice of devotional service in the material field is of 81 different qualities. Of course, this is explained by Kapila Dev, and how combining different absorptions or performing devotional service when caught up by the 3 different combinations of the 3 modes of material nature give 81 different qualities of devotional service, which are still affected by Maya. And so this leads one to sadhana bhakti, getting rid of those undesirable things. When unalloyed practice of sadhana bhakti is matured into transcendental love for the Lord, the transcendental loving service of the Lord begins gradually developing into 9 progressive stages of loving service under the headings of attachment, love, affection, feelings, affinity, adherence, following, ecstasy, and intense feelings of separation. So, otherwise, and those 9 stages of loving devotional service are based on the first one, which is attachment. And of course, now Srila Prabhupada explains that, and this was very deeply explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. The attachment of an inactive devotee, otherwise Shantaras, someone who is in Shantaras, their attachment can reach up to prema, because attachment is rati, love is prema, affection, sneha. Then the feelings, are mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, bhava, and mahabhava. So affection, feelings, affinity. Affinity means pranaya. Otherwise, there's strong attraction. Just like in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described that Radha Krishna pranaya, this affinity, this attraction that cannot be separated, adherence, raga, and then anuraga, following that adherence, bhava, ecstasy, and mahabhava. So the attachment of an active servant, otherwise dasiras, can bring one to the stage of adherence, bringing one to the stage of raga. And for a friendly devotee, otherwise sakyaras, to the stage of following, to anuraga. And the same for parental devotees. The difference is that in sakyaras, you can come to the beginning of anuraga. And in vatsalya ras, you can come to the end. Otherwise, the full development of that deep attachment, where one can never see Krishna. Otherwise, the friends of Krishna, sometimes they can see Krishna's greatness. But the people in vatsalya ras, even though they see that greatness, they're never surprised by it. They just see Krishna as their loving relative, or their either direct relative in the case of Mother Yashoda, or indirect relative in the case of the elderly gopas and gopis. Devotees in conjugal love, the gopis, develop ecstasy up to the stage of intense feelings of separation, or mahabhava. These are some of the features of unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. So that's a very deep subject matter, which of course Rupa Goswami deals with in his Ujjvala Mani, and his deep explanation, or the sequel to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then we go down to, according to Hari Bhakti Shuddhodaya, the import of the word idam bhuta, complete bliss, transcendental bliss in the realization of the impersonal Brahman, becomes comparable to the scanty water contained in the pit made by the cow's hoof. So that's a famous verse, which is given in Hari Bhakti Shuddhodaya, and is many times quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Especially was quoted by Haridas Thakur when he was challenged by Gopal Chakravarti. And when that challenge came, Haridas Thakur, he stated this. He said, explain to me, this Gopal said, explain to me, otherwise I will cut off your nose, how that this chanting of the Maha Mantra can take one beyond liberation, which is something that is achieved after thousands or millions of lifetimes of austerities and penances. And Haridas said, well, I'll explain it to you. And if my explanation is not good, I'll cut off my own nose. And then he said this verse, that's Tat Sakshat Karanaladha Vishuddhabdha Stitasya Me Sukhani Goshparayante. The pleasure of Brahman is like Brahmanyapi Jagat Guru. Oh my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. The pleasure, which comes from your devotional service, by which one is situated in the highest transcendental realm of spiritual awareness, is so great that the pleasure of Brahman can be compared to the water Goshpatayanti, which is found in the footprint of a calf. And so this is itam bhuta, complete bliss. And when that bliss is combined, now here we'll go on. The personal form of Lord Sri Krishna is so attractive that it comprehends all attraction, all bliss, and all tastes. So these are the three things: Krishna's beauty, Krishna's mellows, and Krishna's fragrance. These attractions are so strong that no one wants to exchange them for material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation. There is no need of logical arguments in support of this statement, but out of one's own nature, one becomes attracted by the qualities of Lord Krishna. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a whole list of how this happened. The fragrance was achieved by the Lord's taste, or the fragrance was achieved by the Kumaras. And as far as hearing about him, Shukadeva Goswami, as far as being attracted by his beauty, the queens of Dwarka, the gopis of Vrindavan, his parents, and all, practically, of course, all the Sakya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, and Madhurya Ras are all attracted by Krishna's unbelievable beauty. Those qualities were mentioned by Sanatana Goswami, Sarvakarshaka. Everything comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarvaladaka, and all bliss, all wonderful transcendental bliss comes from him. Maha Rasayana, and all types of transcendental tastes. Apanara Bhalikari Sarva Vishmarana. And therefore, the only thing there is remembering Krishna. And remembering Krishna means, of course, as Krishna himself states, that he is the source of remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. So all these things come from him, and everything else which is not in those three categories of being the most wonderful cause of everything, the cause of all bliss and the cause of all transcendental mellows, will be eliminated because they are so powerful. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Bhukti Mukti Siddha Sukha Chadhaya Jara Gandhe, just by a slight fragrance of devotional service, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi, all the happiness from material enjoyment, liberation, and mystic powers, all that happiness, just by a slight appearance of devotional service, Alaukika Shakta Gune Krishna Kripaya Bandi, the most wonderful potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotee is bound by Krishna's mercy, and all these other attractions go away. So that is what's meant, what Srila Prabhupada is explaining. All these attractions for material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation are gone away. And there's no need to support this statement by logic. Otherwise, there's no need, meaning there's no possibility of supporting it by logic or arguments. Of course, as it says in Mahabharata, that Tako Pratishta Shutaya Bibina, that by logic or by different religious processes, Nashapyashur Yashamatam Nabinam, or by different philosophical types of speculation, these things cannot bring one to the absolute truth. What brings one to the absolute truth, Mahajana Enikata Sapanta, is following, associating with the pure devotees of the Lord. We must know for certain, Srila Prabhupada says, that the qualities of the Lord have nothing to do with mundane qualities. Otherwise, itam bhuta guna. Now he's explaining guna. All of them are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. There are innumerable qualities of the Lord, and one is attracted by one quality, while another is attracted by others. There's a famous verse spoken by Lord Brahma, where he says that the Lord is gunatmana. He is the essence, the essential quality of all quality. He's the essence of all qualities. And it's explained by Jiva Goswami that what does that mean? It means that all of these qualities that Krishna has that exist, all the qualities that exist are different. The manifestation of different living entities are the totality of the qualities found in the living entities are simply who are unlimited, are simply the manifestation of a certain quality of Krishna, and how he manifests that quality is found in each particular living entity. Otherwise, because Krishna has unlimited qualities, the living entities have unlimited quality. So, and therefore, Srila Prabhupada says here, one is attracted by one quality, another by another, but it's not just one quality or another quality, it's the unlimited combinations and permutations of those qualities combined together in the person of Krishna that generates, so to speak, not generates in the fact that we're created, but generates the possibility of unlimited living entities. Now, Srila Prabhupada goes into the explanation of the different personalities. Great sages, which I just briefly mentioned, such as the four bachelor devotees, nice term, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, were attracted by the fragrance of the flowers and tulsi leaves anointed with the pulp of sandalwood offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami was already situated in the liberated stage, as were the Kumaras. And yet he was attracted to by the pastimes of the Lord. This proves that the quality of his pastimes has nothing to do with material affinity. Otherwise, the fact that the Kumaras and Shukadeva Goswami were already situated on that platform. And of course, there were other devotees who were already situated in Brahman. Practically speaking, most of the sages who were assembled in Naimisharanya, and even the sages who, when Shukadeva Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam originally, they were all, practically speaking, they were some kind of Atmarama. As I said, there were 6 types of Atmaramas. There are 7 types of yogis looking for liberation, but they're all included or put together in this verse by what? Ahituki bhakti. That the fact that when they come in contact with pure devotional service, then even though they may be situated on all these different platforms, either Brahman platform or Narada Muni simply being a pious young man, or Shaunaka Rishi being a sage, or mystic yogis, they all become devotees of the Lord when they're in the association of devotees, in the association of devotional service, or when they receive a special mercy from the Supreme Personality of God. And so then at the end of this, this proves that the quality of his pastimes has nothing to do with material affinity. Similarly, among the young cowherd damsels were attracted by the bodily features of the Lord, and Rukmini was attracted by hearing about the glories of the Lord. Lord Krishna attracts even the mind of the goddess of fortune. He attracts in special cases the minds of all young girls. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes from the Bhagavatam in relation to that, that all meaning that one, which was something spoken, I think it was spoken by one of the gopis, said, you steal away the chastity of all girls. What girl could possibly resist? Otherwise, the minds of all young girls, like Kubja, of course, she wasn't so young when she was first met Krishna, but the minds of any young girl, of course, in the Bhagavatam, it speaks of the Aborigine girls. They were simply forest dwellers, but when they saw Krishna, they were attracted. The wives of the Brahmins, when they had heard about Krishna, when they saw Krishna, their minds, they were ready to completely forget about their husbands. We just want to go to Vrindavan with you, Krishna. And Krishna said, no, the best way to be with me is by hearing and chanting. He attracts the minds of the elderly ladies by parental affection. He attracts the minds of the male in the humors of servitude and friendship. And of course, Vatsalya Ras also, in the case of elderly gopas. The word Hari conveys various meanings, but the chief import of the word is that he, the Lord, vanquishes everything inauspicious and takes away the mind of the devotee by awarding pure devotional love. This is supported by a statement that Srila Prabhupada made in his purports, which I would like to read. The four miserable conditions are due to four kinds of sinful activities. This is what the Lord takes away by Hari, known as Pataka, Urupataka, Mahapataka, and Atipataka, which means, Pataka means preliminary sin, Urupataka means very great sin, Mahapataka means greater sin, and Atipataka means topmost sin. So this is this is what Hari, this is the first thing he takes away. And the other thing he takes away is the attraction for anything that is not in the realm of Krishna's beauty, Krishna's activities, and Krishna's qualities. By remembering the Lord in acute distress, one can be freed from all varieties of miseries and anxieties. So this is a very important statement by Srila Prabhupada, because sometimes we wonder, why is Krishna doing this? Why are we, having to suffer so many different things in this material world? Why are we totally, sometimes we feel even abandoned by Krishna, everything's going wrong. Why? By remembering the Lord in acute distress, one can become freed from all varieties of miseries and anxieties. So therefore, Krishna has to do it, as of course his famous statement, the famous statement about Krishna by Shukadeva Goswami is that, what is that verse? Harishetaddanam chunai, Rami anugrinami, yasyaham anugrinami, harishetaddanam chunai. That when the Lord especially favors someone, he takes everything away. Otherwise, he puts them in acute distress where they're forced to depend on him. Even pure devotees, even we see Srila Prabhupada was put into acute distress. But a devotee doesn't, on the level of Srila Prabhupada, on the level of great Vaishnavas throughout history, when they're put into acute distress, it means that in that condition, they feel so much closeness to Krishna, just like Srila Prabhupada when he was coming on the Jaladuta. So many miserable conditions, 2 heart attacks. And he just completely surrendered to Krishna and said, Krishna, whatever you want, I will do. And then he was, of course, he came closer to Krishna, and Krishna gave him great comfort by that total dependence on Krishna. Gradually, the Lord vanquishes all obstacles on the path of devotional service of a pure devotee. and the result of 9 devotional activities, such as hearing and chanting, becomes manifest. Otherwise, before that, there are so many desires. But when Krishna vanquishes the obstacles, there are only 9 things we have left to do: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. Then, finishing up the purport, by his personal features and transcendental attributes, the Lord attracts all psychological activities of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the devotee's mind, Maya Saktamana Parta Yogam Yunchan Marashrayaha, that Krishna attracts, when one's mind is totally attracted by Krishna, then all of those psychological activities are focused on Krishna. Such is the attractive power of Lord Krishna. The attraction is so powerful that a pure devotee never hankers for any one of the 4 principles of religion. Of course, we know those 4 principles of religion, that one wants to dharma, artha, moksha, kama. These 4 things, we're taken beyond those things. These are the attractive features of the transcendental attributes of the Lord. And adding to this, otherwise, all these definitions which have been given up to now, adding to those, the words api and cha, one can increase the imports unlimitedly. And. No. According to the Sanskrit grammar, there are 7 synonyms for the word api. And I think there's 7 also for cha, as I remember. So by interpreting each and every word of this shloka, one can see unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna that attract the mind of a pure devotee. So here, in this last part of the purport, we come to the understanding of the 64 qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But actually, there are unlimited qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When you add api and cha, no, before you add them, you may get 64. After you add them, you get unlimited qualities, because each of those 64 main categories of qualities, when combined with other qualities, which api, certainly, and cha, and, which are their basic definitions, and this, and this, and this, and certainly this, and certainly this, and certainly this, then you get unlimited qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, Krishna, as he stated to Uddhava, Yatakti Su Samridharchi, just as fire can burn away, burn up everything to ashes, karot didamshi bhashmashat, converts everything to ashes, tata mad vishaya bhaktir. When one takes to the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uddhavainam Shri Kritsna Shaha, that all, O Uddhava, all of the unwanted, unlimited material desires are burnt to ashes in the same way. And but who can understand this? The only person that can understand this is actually one who is dedicated. At the end, of course, we just finished Damodar month, and in the Damodar Leela, there's one verse, I think it's the end of the which chapter? The end of the 21st, is it 21st chapter? No, I'm sorry. The end of the 11th chapter of, or is it? No, I'm sorry. The end of the 9th chapter of 10th canto, that it's stated, Nayam Sukapo Bhagavan Dehinam Kopika Sutaha, that one who is Dehinam, one who is within in a material body, or one who's attached to the material conception of life, they can never understand the supreme happiness and bliss of worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nor can Jnanina, nor can great Jnanis, nor can Atma Bhutanam, nor can the person situated in understanding the self. Yata Bhakti Matam Iha. And only the devotees of the Lord who are situated in the topmost platform of devotional service can actually understand these things. So this is as brief a possible explanation one can give, but actually we should be very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has taken from that 24th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita and condensed it and taken all of that and given the meaning that we see, the actual meaning that we see in his definition. He has given the perfect combination of all these things to give the highest definition of pure devotional service. Otherwise, what is an Atmarama? What is the real Atmarama? What is the highest stage of Atmarama? One who is Ahaituki Bhakti, one who is Ita Bhuta Guna Hari, one who is absorbed in transcendental bliss of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, relishing his unlimited qualities, one who is situated in unalloyed devotional service, one who is beyond the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti and has achieved the platform of spontaneous devotional service. This is the highest Atmarama. And all of them will be brought to that platform by the association of Vaishnavas, performance of devotional service, and the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are some explanations. I'll stop here. And are there any questions? We're a little bit over time, but maybe if there's time for a question or two, if they exist. What do you say, Jayadwaj Prabhu? Can we entertain a question or two? Or?
We have Damodar Swami here, so maybe we should ask him if he has any comment or question.
Oh, yeah.
Maharaj, can you unmute?
Haribol.
Yeah,
I feel like, well, I wish I did feel like this, but as an example, I feel like Prahlad Maharaj being pushed forward by Lord Brahma and the demigods to approach Lord Nrsingadev, and because the others were fearful to do so. So after the transcendental, how should we call it, tornado or of all this detailed knowledge that you gave in the class, I'm again following the storm analogy. I'm just blown away. I'm blown away. So I have no question. Thank you.
All right. So we have a question from Jayaraj Prabhu. Jayaraj Prabhu, can you go ahead? We're seeing you speaking, but we're not hearing you.
You had, there we go. I'm still not hearing.
Yeah, Jayaraj Prabhu, we are not hearing you.
Microphone muted.
Okay, I'm muted.
Yeah.
Okay, it was some technical problem.
Now
okay. My question is regarding the Madhya Lila chapter 24 and text 13. It says, "E sate rame jai, se admarama gana." And this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying the word admarama refers to one who enjoy these 7 items of the absolute truth, the body, the mind, and so on. And he said, later I will enumerate all the Atma Ramas. So my question is something confusing because we're not supposed to enjoy anything.
But you drop your hand.
Hello? We're not supposed to enjoy anything. So are we supposed to enjoy the Supreme Personality of Godhead or not? That's my question.
That's a very good question. A devotee who is put in contact with Krishna, who is a real Atmarama, cannot avoid, the living entity cannot avoid enjoying, but that's not his motive. That's the point that Srila Prabhupada is making. Because we can't avoid enjoying because of our nature of ananda, therefore, but that is not our motive. Our motive is not to enjoy, our motive is to please Krishna. But we have to enjoy, otherwise Krishna being the source of all pleasure, then he gives us enjoyment and there's nothing we can do about it. So we have to enjoy. It's our nature. And if we don't enjoy Krishna, we'll try to enjoy material nature. So we can't give up that tendency. But it should not be our motive for approaching Krishna. It should be the product of approaching Krishna. Just like Haridas Thakur said, the chanting of the holy name, because one of the Brahmins present, two of the Brahmins, one said, the result of chanting the holy name is liberation. And the other one said, no, the result of the holy name is freedom from sinful activity. And Haridas Thakur said, no, that's just the product. That's not the actual purpose. The purpose is developing love of God. So the purpose is to please Krishna, and the result is enjoyment. You can't avoid it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
All right, we have one question from Nityangi Devi Dasi. Mataji, can you unmute and go ahead and ask your question?
Hare Krishna. I prefer to make the question in Spanish. It is possible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can do.
Sí, pero línea por línea para que yo puedo captar, ¿no? A veces tus preguntas son un poco técnicas y complicadas, entonces que muy resumida o si no en partes, ¿no?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, mis reverencias. Es una pregunta acerca de un comentario que usted hizo en esta clase.
Okay. This is a question based on something I said in the class.
Sí, usted comentó que un devoto neófito puede, aun a pesar de que estar haciendo el proceso de Bhakti Yoga, estar teniendo una realización de la suprema personalidad de Dios como Brahman.
Entonces, so the question is that I had mentioned that when one is on the neophyte platform, his level of realization is on the platform of Brahman, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Mi pregunta es si también es posible que cuando un devoto se encuentra en una plataforma neófita, también el tipo de realización que tenga por el hecho de no llegar todavía a la plataforma de Bhakti pueda ser Paramatma.
Okay, voy a explicar el resto, ya que no tenía tiempo de explicar. So she's saying, so if one is a neophyte devotee, if they're performing devotional service, can they come to the platform of Paramatma? So I didn't finish that point. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that if one is on the platform, a neophyte platform, their realization can come to the point of Brahman. They still understand, theoretically, they understand that Krishna is the Supreme Person, but their understanding, their the amount of understanding they have can come to the platform of Brahman. It's actually situated basically on that platform. And when one is on the platform of Madhyamadikari, their realization comes to the level of Paramatma. And when one is on the level of Uttamadikari, their realization comes to the platform of Krishna or Radha and Krishna. So otherwise the three aspects, that means realization. They all understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in the beginning, it's theoretical. In the intermediate stage, it's realization of the Lord, feeling the Lord's presence within them. And in the highest platform, it's actually seeing Krishna everywhere.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. All right, so if you finished, we have one question from Lilakar Prabhu. Lilakar Prabhu, can you go ahead?
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to the Prabhupada. Thank you for your association. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but you know, I really thank you completely. Your classes were very nice, agreeable, etc. So thank you very much. One thing popped in my mind as we're going through the Atmarama verse in the classes is that a big part of it, it seems like, of course, you know, more than welcome to correct me, but one realization came is that a big part of it is that as we're going through the process of bhakti yoga, it seems like it's important to try to attain that status of satisfaction, to try to attain appreciation of other Vaishnavas, even if they have different realizations than oneself. So how can we attain to that status where there's not going to be any dissension and there's going to be appreciation, even if though we're coming from different realizations as how to serve Prabhupada and how to serve the movement? How can we attain to that, you know, status where, okay, you have your realization, I have my realization, but we can come together as a family?
Yes, well, of course, I see that very clearly. The example that comes to my mind is our temple in Tirupati, where we have our Radha Govinda temple with Radha and Krishna and gopis, and up above in Tirumala, there is the worship of Narayan, of Vishnu, of Bala, of Balaji. So they're worshiping in opulence, and we're worshiping. Well, we have opulence also, but we're worshiping the Lord as Radha and Krishna. So obviously, the type of worship is very different. Just like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited, when he visited Rangakshetra, and you know, he was conversing with the father of Gopal Bhatta, and you know, the different levels of realization were very great, but by that association, then Venkata Bhatta, he got a higher realization, but he didn't give up his rasa. Of course, our association with those devotees there, we appreciate their devotional service because they're serving Krishna as purely as they possibly can, and we are also. So we appreciate one another, although our understanding is very different. We understand Krishna as the Supreme Person, they understand Narayan as the Supreme Person. So Rupa Goswami instructs us that you always appreciate a devotee within the mind. And the Skanda Purana says that there are 6 things you should not do in relation to a Vaishnava. First, you should not kill them, which is probably a good idea, even as far as mundane law goes. Second, you should not blaspheme them. Third, you should not in any way criticize them. Fourth, you should not become angry with them. unless of course you're in the position of guru or something to correct, but that anger is actually devotional service. And then one should always bow down to them. And the sixth one should always be happy to see a Vaishnava. And it says, if you violate any of these six, then your mentality is a hellish mentality. So with all those statements, we understand that we must appreciate Vaishnavas, even if they're in a fallen condition and we don't want to associate with them, and we may have to condemn their activities. We still appreciate the fact that they're Vaishnava. I hope
Maharaj, can I
Yeah,
say something?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Maharaj. Appreciate it. Appreciate for your answer. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Bol.
Maharaj, he is saying more or less that we have some separation here between the different groups, especially in Miami.
Oh yes,
And
I've heard about it.
And then we keep some separation. So some of the people say, why you are so antagonistic to this cause or that cause. And this is what he is questioning within these questions, which is different.
The root of the question.
Yeah. But the Balaji situation, I know because I was in Balaji, and when it was no ISKCON temple there. But these people, the Balaji temple is also contributing to ISKCON with money and different things, permits and different.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Well, according to, if we go more to the Miami or other place situations where you have different groups of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, where the similarities are very great and the differences are more subtle, then it's a difference of mission. It's not a difference of opinion that Krishna is the supreme or that conjugal rasa is the highest. We all share those things. But how to manifest that realization on a practical platform, we do what Srila Prabhupada says. They may do what another great Vaishnava says. And we have to learn that and the perfect example is Mayapur. You go to Mayapur, you have all these different Gaudiya Vaishnava devotees, but you don't see them running in between the different mats, trying to tell one another that we're the best. So that's a problem. When you start thinking we're the best, everyone thinks that I'm following the best Maha Bhagavata. Everyone will think that. That's natural. But as Srila Prabhupada said, you don't try to analyze myself and my godbrothers. So I can do that, Prabhupada said. I can do that for your benefit. But if you do it, then you will commit offenses. So we just don't commit offense. We just, when somebody has a different realization of how to execute devotional service, we appreciate their realization, but we have our realization which was given by Srila Prabhupada. And that's what we're doing. And other people, otherwise we don't feel that we need them to tell us how to worship Prabhupada. And we don't feel we need to tell them how to worship their guru.
Yeah.
But somehow they feel that they need to tell us how we worship, how we should serve Prabhupada. So that can only be solved by when you arrive in Goloka Vrindavan, then Krishna will sort that out for you.
It's nice, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, there's a question in the chat. Is from Tarun Radha Devidasi. It says, Hare Krishna, dear Gurudev, who should we consider to be a Vaishnav then? So it's asking the question, in the light of the discussion, who should we see as Vaishnavas?
Anyone who worships Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 3 definitions of Vaishnavas. The first one was one who chants the holy name once, meaning one who chants without, otherwise one who chants but without full realization. So that is the neophyte devotee. There we accept them as Vaishnavas. Then there is the Madhyama who always chants the holy name. And then there is the Uttamadhikari who, by seeing them, one wants to chant the holy name. So they're just different degrees of Vaishnavas. When we consider a Vaishnava one who chants the holy name.
If you have more time, Maharaj, I have one little question. We are reading Krishna book, and when Lord Balaram and Krishna went back to Vrindavan, he apologized to the gopis, by saying, he didn't pay enough attention to them. He's kind of ungrateful. So he invited them to go back to Dwarka, but Radharani refused to go back to Dwarka. So is that because she didn't want the opulence of Dwarka? She simply wanted to remember Krishna. And the other thing is, Srila Prabhupada says, in quoting the Yasaham Anugrahami verse, he says, for Krishna, we can have everything. So, it seems like, how can you, it gives, throw some light on that for me.
Well, there's one statement by Radharani, which was, I'm just going to find it real quick here. Oops, I just passed it. Here it is. Well, I'm not finding it right now. Maybe it's here. Here it is. Anyara Hriday Mana Mora Mana Vrindavan Mani Vani Eka Kari Jani. That Radharani says through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for most people the mind and the heart are one, meaning that whatever the mind wants, the heart goes there. But because my mind is never separated from Vrindavan, I consider my mind and Vrindavan to be one. My mind is already Vrindavan. And since you like Vrindavan, will you please place your lotus feet there? So it's not a question of her going back to Dwarka. She never went there. No, she went there in the form of Satyabhama, her expansion. No, but she never goes there, nor do any of the gopis go there. They go to Kurukshetra, and they can't see Krishna in that way. And therefore they can't go to Dwarka. And they can't tolerate that mood of worshiping Krishna. Even Radharani can't tolerate the mood of Chandravali, what to speak of the mood of the queens of Dwarka. So she could never be in Dwarka. Actually, there's one story where one devotee in Vrindavan was thinking that he would like to go to Dwarka. And as soon as he felt that way, he was chastised. He was losing his feeling of Vrindavan, the spontaneous feeling of Vrindavan. And therefore, when he realized that, he simply gave up his body. His body burnt to ashes, and he went back home, back to Godhead, to Vrindavan. So actually, Krishna doesn't appreciate that his Vrindavan devotees would be thinking in the form of Dwarka, because Dwarka is, there's one verse in that 24th chapter that says, Krishna maintains everything in three ways. By his potency, he maintains the material world. By his sweetness and his beauty, he maintains Goloka Vrindavan. And by his opulence, he maintains Dwarka and Vaikuntha. So that sweetness can never be fully tasted. It can be tasted to some degree, but the sweetness and beauty experienced in Vrindavan can never be tasted by anyone outside of Vrindavan.
Thank you, Maharaj. And so if there are no other questions, we want to thank you for your time. We do appreciate you giving this nice class. I still have to listen to it again. I'm going to go back to YouTube and listen to it. So there was a lot in there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All
Thank
good.
you.
Srila Prabhupada, Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai.
Jai, Haribol.
Oh.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Gracias.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
The class is available on YouTube.
Okay, so we want to thank everyone who came. We're glad we had such a nice group today. Thank you all.
And telling the class is available on YouTube.
Yeah, the classes are available on YouTube. I posted it in the chat, and so you have that that information there.
Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.